From a Kabbalist perspective, healing involves a process that's different, in a sense, than we normally understand it in Western thinking. In Western thinking, we assume that healing is when you've gotten past the illness and you're on the recovery process. So it's usually thought of as building something up. In the Kabbalist perspective, they're looking at it very differently. There is a very central concept in the Kabbalah that usually is connected to evil or to malfunction or dysfunction in the world, depending on the degree, that they refer to as klipot, as shells. The idea being that a person can be stuck inside a reality that is solid, that they're trapped in, which on the healing level or puts sickness on the level of a pattern that you're stuck with, a reality that you're stuck with, a heaviness, which can involve physical dysfunction, sorrow, whatever. And the idea in Hebrew is that healing, rapé, comes from a verb root very closely connected to the verb root meaning not to build up, but rather the opposite, to break something down. So the idea of healing in the Kabbalist perspective is breaking the shell. Breaking the shell of depression, breaking the shell of fixed habit patterns that are destructive, whatever, whether this is psychological, physical, emotional, whatever, it's the same concept. The second idea that's very closely connected with healing in Kabbalist thought is the idea that everything in the universe starts at the spiritual level and then gradually moves down into physical reality. So if we're dealing with human experience, we're talking about our spiritual reality generating our mental or cognitive reality, creating our emotional reality, creating the physical reality. So the idea in Kabbalistic healing is that rather than focus entirely on, I have a psychological problem, I'm going to deal with this intellectually, or I'm going to deal with this, I have an emotional problem, I'm going to deal with this emotionally, but rather that I'm going to not only do that, but more importantly, I need to trace back what's wrong at the spiritual root. What's wrong at the level that I'm either not aware of because it's subliminal, or I'm not aware of because it's unconscious. And that there's some sort of energy deep within my own being that is the root cause for the psychological suffering I'm going through, or the emotional pain I'm going through, or sometimes the physical malfunctions that I'm having to deal with. So there is that concept as well, not only of breaking the shell of where we're stuck, but also tracing back the root to the spiritual level. And that the objective of Kabbalist healing is really empowerment.